Welcome to the project, everyone. Today's gonna be fun. I'm actually pretty excited about this project, and your eyes do not deceive you. So you might have seen on our channel some CNC stuff. Let me show you what we have. So I feel a little bad because the cross trick has honestly taken all of my focus, and I really did have a bunch of intentions to do more with this. You know, we have a lot of cutters that we haven't even used yet. But again, we needed transportation, so we worked on the cross trick. We're kind of past that. So it's sitting in a little bit of a sad state. If you guys watched the video, one of the things I really did like was actually mounting the power supply on the back there, and my tape hasn't held. And we have done some projects here and there, just not necessarily on camera. It's sitting in a little bit of a sad state, but it still runs, you know, and it's still been useful. You're still gonna see quite a lot of this being used in the future on the channel, because I really want to be able to use it to put that special flare or bling on whatever we're doing, or even use it for like precision drilling and everything. So yeah, the Gen 1, it's still here, it's still great, and I'm excited to finally have some time to start playing with it a bit more. And I haven't necessarily had a ton of issues, but I also haven't straight up tried to cut aluminum on it, but I'm hoping to in this video, because here we are. You see that? V2. So this is straight from our friends, our Han Piaoyang friends over at Genmitsu. They sent this over and they're pretty excited about this. Full disclosure, they did send this over like complimentary. They haven't paid for this video. They haven't even told me anything to say about it. Basically all they did is say, hey, we've got this new machine. It's coming out soon. Here's the differences. If you would like, we'd love to see it in a video. And that's basically it. They haven't said anything else. They haven't paid me to say anything. We'll see how it goes. But I'm excited about this already. I haven't seen any pictures of this, so this is all I've seen of it. And I forget what they call this, but this cable track here, I love that design way more over what I had to try to figure out on the other one, because I had to use my own zip ties and stuff and try to make sure nothing caught, and I was worried about it bending too much or putting too much stress on that axis. I need to memorize all these things again. I'm excited about this. That's all I'm trying to say. And they haven't paid me. They've just sent it over, and that's basically it. It's a bit late tonight, but I just couldn't help myself because I was pretty excited about this, and I wanted to at least open it up and get this video started, because I really want to see what this is like. Honestly, this is what it's going to be. I want to put it head to head with the V1 that we've modified, that we've, you know, tried to maximize on it, and then we're gonna see how they work both for aluminum engraving and aluminum cutting, and other stuff as well. I will say, I tried looking online to make sure I got like the right aluminum and everything, and it was kind of hard to find some information, and yeah, it was just kind of hard to find some. I feel like when I looked at the V1, I could find, you know, up to this grade of aluminum they say that you can cut or engrave. This one, it only says metal engraving on it. So I don't know how much they're actually designing this to cut metal. We will do both. We'll engrave and we'll cut it. Now that we finally have the bench cleared off, let's open her up. It does stay open from here, so I will follow. I think one of the things that they touted on this was that it didn't take nearly as much assembly. And if you remember from the last time we did this, yeah, it took a decent bit of assembly. I feel like this is bigger than I remember. So far, about the same experience. Whew. Wow, that's actually really nice. I don't know if they actually had this on the other one. Yeah, and this is also like chrome. On the other one, it's black, as you saw. And maybe it's bigger. ER11, 8mm collet. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't have that labeling on the other one. Oh, and they also have an offline controller. We'll see how close this is to the other one. Let me get this pulled out, and then, then we can start talking. Okay, I mean, this is kind of where I have to end tonight, but already, let me just say, my first impressions, I really didn't think it'd be that different. But looking at this, they've actually made a lot of improvements. I mean, quite a lot of improvements. So right here, this is literally my gut reaction to all of this. I mean, this is, the way that they have this Z-axis here is awesome, or it's an improvement. Yeah, so all of this is redesigned, and then these linear actuators, these rails, these are also different than on the other one. I feel like this is more robust. You know, it's one solid plate on the back one, and all of these limit switches are, yeah, they're just designed into the whole thing a lot better. And you have little rubber bump stops here. You know, and then we've got the cable track. And then also, if you look back here, if you recall, this is basically the same setup that I did on our own one over there. And how do they have the power going in? Z-axis, Y-axis, spindle. Okay, I need to get familiar with all of this. You plug in power there, and one thing to note here real quick, you see down in there? Down there it says 230. So yeah, they still have this for like 240, 230 volts, and we need to switch that over because we've got 115 here. Just gonna change that. But yeah, I don't know how they're getting power over here. I'm guessing in the back somehow, but I mean, I guess that is safer. Huge heat sink here, and I know they're really proud of this. So anyways, I'm just saying, this is kind of what we did on the other one. So I need to be more careful because in moving this around, I did knock off this guy, but he actually popped in. Careful about your limit switches on here. I don't think I damaged it too much. Let me look over this. We'll start putting it together. So to bring up your speed, I don't have the spindle in or anything. I know this is just, you know, a cheap desktop CNC, so it might not matter, but I want to try to get accuracy where I can. Right here, what I'm trying to check, and hopefully you guys can see that, I have my dial gauge, my indicator there, and then I'm trying to make sure that the upright section, the gantry, is perpendicular to the bottom plate here. So that's where I was like moving it back and forth to try to get it, and I think I've got it pretty close. Oh, so here we're at the bottom, and then I have it like zeroed out, and if I go, oops, I have to reset this. So if I go up like maybe half a thousandth or so, but again, this isn't necessarily a precision straight edge or anything. So I'm really happy, and again, like there's a decent bit of flex in this. I don't know if you can see that, but you know, there's a couple thousandths flex from me just kind of going like this, and like not even that hard. So, I mean, it's good that I'm doing this, but I don't think it's necessarily critical. The one thing that I really wish I could do was this way now. So I made sure, yeah, this, what I'm trying to say, I want to run an edge like this to make sure to see if I need to shift it like this. It probably doesn't, and maybe what I need to be more concerned about is shifting like this, which maybe I can set up and just, I don't know if I can reach down that far. Yeah, essentially, I just want to make sure it's not, like I don't need to lift it up on one side or the other. This might take a bit, but yeah, maybe I'll try to indicate along here, get that, and then come back to this. But it's going to be quite the endeavor. But here's something that I found kind of nice. Again, I'll probably go over this a bit later, but what I found is there's limits on each of the axes. And look at that. When I hit an axis, this guy, like the limit on this axis, it lights up. Like, how freaking awesome is that? That is actually really nice. So you can easily see what axis you hit. And then here I can just hold this to reset it, and now I'm good to go again because I got tired of turning. Let me see if I can get set up doing this way, and then yeah, and then we'll get it really locked down. And in case you're wondering, I just did 2 bolts on either side. The rest are pretty loose. So I've gotten the edges of the plate about half a thousandths height-wise from each other. You know, so basically trying to get the spindle parallel to this plate. There does seem to be about 3/1000ths of a rise in the center here, but here I can just show you. Here's one side. See, there's the 3/1000ths rise. And then goes back to 0. So yeah, we're about 0.5 on the edges of the plate here. And yeah, so essentially this is pretty dang parallel. We've got about 3/1000ths high and, you know, low on the outside. But at least I have them parallel right now. So I'm gonna swap it back to doing perpendicular with the plate, and I mean, that probably needs a little bit of adjustment. It is a bit of a pain to go back and forth between all of these. I mean, considering how much my hand moves this, I think this is pretty dang good. So if it perpendicular wise, it's like a few thousandths out or something, I might adjust it and then just crank it down. I mean, I wish there was some way to index all of this or not go through this hard work, but I mean, what do you expect for this price point? I think this is pretty dang good. Then we do that off. Reset, and then we can go back to the center. I'll probably bring you guys back once I crank that down. So I'm satisfied with where it's at right now. I mean, we're maybe like a thou or two off parallel wise, and then perpendicular wise like 2 or 3 thou off, but I'm kind of chasing my tail at this point, and if I'm having 3 thou of difference across the plate, I don't think me chasing anymore is going to really make that much of a difference of the quality of parts I can pull off of here. So we're going to tighten all of these guys down and get to actually like mounting up the spindle and stuff. Even with the version 1, this was kind of a tedious part, and I don't know, it's a little bit of a moot point because it's like, you know, you're not paying for insane precision. And yeah, if you want to put in some elbow grease, you can maybe get you can make your experience a little better. You know, honestly, probably not by much. But I at least want to do my due diligence and, you know, really try to get this sunk in, you know, as close as I can. Well, we got the Y-axis wiring in, so Y, the motor, stepper motor there, and then the limit switches. Yeah, limit switches here. The sheathing coming down here, it wasn't like, I didn't want wires coming over the front of this. I mean, you could easily do that, but I decided to pull the sheathing back a little bit and then have them split up so that way we get full view here, which just makes it nice. I can easily plug in. This controller, again, it's 32 bits. I mean, sure, that's an upgrade. As far as if a 32-bit processor is actually going to be helpful or not, it really depends on how they implemented all of it, because you could still have 8-bit ADCs or DACs or what have you. So sure, it's good to see a 32-bit, but it's not like it's going to change that much. I do love that they added in the air. So over here we have laser and then air on there, and that's actually pretty helpful. I'm guessing you might be able to set that up to do other things other than air. Should be good. We have our probe down here, our offline controller, MPG port, and a huge heat sink. I mean, overall, I think it's decent. So yeah, now this is looking nice and fine. So this should power up pretty easily. I will say there's a small light. You might not be able to see it, but there's a blue LED somewhere in there, and like through the vent holes it comes out. So if you really want this to be in like a dark place, you have to unplug it from the wall if you don't want this blue LED to be on. Should have everything good to go. So I did set up some some Gerbil files. I did set up a couple things we can try engraving on this. It's just a piece of wood, and I want to see how this finish versus no finish goes. So let's mount this up and see how good we can do. One note, I don't know if I would trust the flash drive. I hate to say this, like Genmitsu's been great and there shouldn't be any issues, but I do have a concern about the flash drive, but that's okay because you can get all the files you need online doing your own research. You can grab Candle, Gerbil Control or whatever it's called. You can grab that online. You can grab their user manual. You can grab everything, and you can even download all the exact files from them if you wanted. I will say I have had Windows come up and actually say, oh, there's like viruses and stuff with a couple of the EXEs with like the drivers and the Candle EXE. Not exactly sure what tips off Microsoft to do that, but I don't know. It has put some doubt in my mind. I don't know if I would use the flash drive. Just throwing that out there. But I have got the manual, and I was looking at using the Z probe because on the other guy, on the V1, the Z probe didn't seem to work, and it's probably because I didn't actually go and look at this. So, and I was really confused. This took me like 10 minutes to look at, and it's probably just because I don't know G code. But essentially, they say it should look like this, you change it to that, and then it should work. Well, mine was more like this, and I had to kind of add in these last parts right here. So from what I understand, it like sets up the relative coordinates, jogs down and touches it, and then jogs down again, or moves away. But what you need to do is actually add in the height of your Z probe, which in here they say 1235. When I actually measured mine, mine's 1222. All the way in here, I added in Z1222 and put that in. So now let's actually see if the Z probe works, because I'd be interested. I mean, I'd be interested to use the Z probe rather than doing like paper or something. But I thought I'd bring this up. Not sure I trust the flash drive, but that should go without saying for any product you buy. I mean, if you, unless you're getting it like direct from manufacturer and stuff, I don't know if I would trust any storage media that you get from a product like that. And it sucks to say that, but I mean, you got to be careful. So anyways, I have this up. Let's see if the Z probe works. I had to move it over here so that way USB is close enough. If you didn't know, the Z probe just checks to see if there is a metal connection between these two. So what you do is you connect one to your bit, and then you come down. Let me make sure I'm in control. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down pretty dang close, and then you should see that pop up. Now I'm going to zero this all out, and then we're going to do Z probe. We'll see if we ram into our probe, and there we go. Error 1, I don't know what error 1 is. I didn't have semicolons in there, so we're gonna move up again, try it one last time. Now with semicolon. Touches, comes up, touches again, and then it should go up 25 millimeters. Like that. There we go. Our Z probe should be working. We have some thick paper here. So now, let's do... Oh, what the? Oh, check limits. Whoopsies. So that's good. That's something for me to note. Yeah, I like can't get that down far enough, can I? I don't feel like readjusting this, so we're gonna readjust the upper piece. We're gonna have to reset the Z height. That is one limitation here, is that like it's hard to do really low work on this. So I'm gonna bring this up because I do want to be able to get down to things that are like, you know, an inch high and everything, and we weren't able to get close enough. So that does mean that our height of what we can work on is going to be a tad limited. But honestly, so hear me out. This might be the ideal height to put this in, because this just about clears the collet. Meaning you could have something this high, and I mean, maybe you'd want to go a little higher, but let's actually see how low it can go. that's basically what we can play with here. If you want to put a spoil board on here, I mean, that is not touching the bottom. You know, that is still up, and that is on the limit right there. So essentially, if you sink the router deep enough in this, then you can basically almost get to the spoil board, and then basically almost get up to the bottom of this guy as far as usable range, which I think is what they tout 78 millimeters. And so it's just, you know, where do you want those 78 millimeters? I can't really sink this deeper to actually hit the spoil board. I could get bits that are longer. So maybe what I'll do is actually sink or raise this up a little bit. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna do about there. So I'm gonna do about there because I can do bits that are a bit longer, especially if I go to the 1/4 inch collet. But this ER11 with the 1/8 inch and this bit, I mean, they have pretty short engraving bits, but that will allow us, if we go all the way up, that will basically allow us to engrave something, you know, almost 70 millimeters high, 4 or 5 inches thick. Let's actually set our Z. Now that we have our Z code kind of working, and let's see if the Z code actually does work. So there we go. We got our Z set. So now we should be able to do 25 above. So if we do 5, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Yeah, that looks to have worked out. So we've set our Z. Now we just need to set our X and Y. I think I need to redo my code because I think I have the origin or like the 0 all the way at the bottom, which means I need to have it like at the top of this surface. Because what if the thickness here is different? I don't know. We might just run with it. So there is actually a fan on the power supply. I can hear it kicking on there. Let's see. I'm just going to send it and see how it goes. You guys ready? Well, I dare say that's pretty dang good. So as you saw, I did engraving with that 30-degree bit single flute, and yeah, it turned out. I think this is about as big as I could do with that 30-degree flute, just because it has to go so deep down in there. And then when I was cutting, two things is that the chips really got stuck down in here. Even with the vacuum going, trying to suck them all out. Now when I've tried to do this kind of engraving with the same bits, but in plastic or polymer, it would stick. Like it wouldn't eject and get clean edges or anything. So this is at least a pretty big improvement. Hopefully you guys can see. There is, I think I was getting some chatter. I don't know if you can see like down around in there. And if we get the light right, along some of these edges, when it gets kind of deep, I think we did get some chatter in there. I think that's pretty good. I really think I need a different bit. I really want to try a 45 or even like a 90-degree engraving bit. It would keep these a lot more shallow and probably give me a better result for what I want. Granted, this is pretty cool. Like if you wanted to fill this in with some epoxy and then sand it flat again, I bet this would look amazing. And as you guys might have guessed, I decided to do the backside as well. On the backside, I actually did a little bit different. I haven't tried a down cut bit, and I've heard that down cut bits on wood give you really clean edges. So we did a flat end, 2 flute, spiral down cut bit on this. So here is the bit I used. It is from Genmitsu. It's 2 flutes, flat end, 1/8 inch or 3.125 millimeter shank, and then it's like 8 millimeters up of cutting. So this is what I used for this guy, and if you notice when we're spinning, these are cutting down, so they're shoving the chips down. And honestly, I gotta say, I'm quite happy with this. Like, this looks really good. Granted, 5 millimeters deep on this is a little deep, and I really need to decide if I'm true American and stick with inches, or if I want to kind of convert over to using millimeters when I'm doing machining stuff. But right now I'm flopping back and forth, so that's why I kind of give some weird measurements. But this looks really good. I mean, the walls aren't necessarily perfect, but gosh dang is it close. I will say with this, I definitely am a complete noob at creating my own cam or using cam software to make the Gerbils. The Gerbil files on here, because yeah, there was, I ran into a few issues where it'd be like going slow and at a good pace and then suddenly speed up. And also for most of this, I had it like spiraling in from like 5 millimeters away. So like as deep as this is, we just spent a ton of time like coming down, but like this is a pretty flat surface. So I on these last 2 letters, I brought that in. And if you didn't see, what happened is I had a clamp here, and then I waited until this first pass was going, and we came right here to see if it was going to hit the clamp, and sure enough, it was going to hit the clamp on these 2. So I hit pause, and then when I went to go take the clamp off, I accidentally hit the limit switch there, which then of course lights out for the entire thing, and I lost my 0 and everything. So I just, rather than, and I didn't know exactly how to start in the middle of the program or anything, so I just went and re-exported just these 2 letters, re-zeroed it, and then hit go again with the clamp moved up here, and it was close enough that you can't tell. So overall, pretty dang good. I'm really happy with that. All right, are you guys ready? I am ready. I got my original CNC to try engraving aluminum. I thought I had metal that I could actually try it on, and the talk was that it could also mill out aluminum a bit. So, and then the Crosstrek kind of, you know, has been taking up a ton of time. So I haven't got around to it, but I still want to do it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the new V2 up against our modified V1. They're gonna cut out the exact same thing, and I'm gonna use the same bits. So I've designed a little simple item, and if you want to know, and I'll try to link these, I'm using Amana tools, and essentially the 2 bits that I have, which I got these specifically for aluminum, they're 1/4 inch shank. So the 1/4 inch, and then we have a flat nose single flute. This should be pretty good at milling out aluminum, and this should be pretty good at engraving aluminum. But I will say again, this is still the 30-degree one, which I really wish I got the 45. I'm probably gonna order the 45, but today we're gonna try the 30-degree one. So I've had those bits sitting around. I've really wanted to use them. Yeah, they're not Genmitsu, but like, yeah, I really wanna use them. We've got our aluminum. I remember seeing somewhere that they told me, oh, it can, like in one of their data sheets or something, it said it could cut up to this aluminum, but I couldn't find that again. So I just went with 6061 straight from McMaster, and we'll see how it goes. I'm a little nervous about this because again, this is, I've never done like any machining, so I'm really, you know, I've watched a lot of This Old Tony. You know, I've taken notes while watching A-Bomb 79, or what's the other channel I watch quite a bit? Cutting Edge Engineering. I'm an armchair expert is basically what I'm trying to say at this point. But we'll see if anything can kind of come out of this. Hopefully my speed and feeds are reserved. I did look up, and Amana Tool did have, they had some suggested feeds and speeds. So I'm kind of like on the really conservative side for them, just because I'm a little worried about this. But anyways, I'm gonna cut them the exact same. I think first we're gonna go on this because I have it set up, and then we're gonna hop over to the other one. But first we need to cut these out. So let's go to that chop saw. I said chop saw, but this is definitely a portable band saw. So, haha. Well, maybe not the most square pieces I've ever done. I understand why people like bandsaws, or, you know, like official ones where you clamp it in and just let it go with like flood coolant and everything, but it's not the least square I've ever done. Not gonna lie, a little bit nervous, but I think I've clearanced everything, so not gonna hit this clamp, not gonna hit that clamp. We have 2 tool changes, 5 procedures, but it's like 3, I split into 3 different codes. So this first one's just gonna face it off, and then you'll have to watch from there. Again, a little nervous, but let's go for it. Let's see how this works out. Milling with a 1/4 inch bit on a Genmitsu CNC. Well, what can we learn from that? Well, that threw chips everywhere. Holy moly. I wish I put the dang shroud on this guy to test it out. So that's one downside. Other one, I think I've screwed up. I don't think this guy is meant to do any plunge cuts, which kind of sucks. I should have known. But anyways, yeah, I think its main cutting edge is supposed to be the outside, but I don't know, I might check up on it. So anyways, other thing I learned, there was quite a bit of chatter, and I slowed it down to 70%, and then now I'm at like 50%, and 50% does seem to be, it seems to like that better. So yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it at 50%, and now we gotta change out. A little worried, but again, we're still 50% down on our feed rate. We'll see how this part goes. Oh, it's a little nerve-wracking. I immediately wrecked this tool. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I chipped off the end on there. It's just so weird because I feel like I'm off somewhere, because I tried my best to be really conservative, but it just feels like it's really fast, especially with the engraving. My cam software to do the engraving, it just, I'm doing, you know, chip per tooth and all of that calculation. But it still just seems way too aggressive. I have it down at 15% feed rate right now, so maybe something's off. Maybe this isn't actually 12,000 RPM. Maybe I can measure that. Let's figure that out. Yeah, it's almost 11,600. I mean, not bad. I will say, if I go and I override the spindle at, it says 1,000. Then yeah, it's like 10,000. So spindle RPM's not too far off, but I'm worried to continue because this is not really cutting like I want it to. I don't want to ruin my other bit, but maybe I'll do the next operation with a smaller bit that I don't care about and it can get destroyed. All right, should we see if we break any bits? Because this should be interesting. It thinks it's this bit. We'll see how this bit survives, because I think this one can actually cut down. So I guess I'll have my hand ready at the E-stop. So this is my first time trying to cut aluminum, and it's going pretty rough so far. I'm going to try ever so slightly this bit. So the 1/8 inch bit, yeah, that was chattering real bad, trying to dig a hole down in the middle there. And yeah, I was gonna break the bit. I could just tell. Yeah, so here we've gone down a tiny bit. I'm gonna go with this guy and have my hand on the abort button, because I just want to see how it starts cutting, and the second if it gets worse, I'm just gonna cut it out. This is really tough for me because I'm not sure if it's me or if it is the machine. I looked online a few days ago when I was looking. It was like, oh, you could do stainless steel engraving, but I'm kind of struggling to do aluminum engraving. And granted, there's probably something I'm doing wrong. Backlash on this machine does seem, like this is kind of on the edge. So anyways, I'm gonna live on the edge, see if I can ruin my expensive drill bit, and just see how it starts cutting that, and get ready to hit abort. Who's ready for danger? Alright guys, I really wasn't getting anywhere there. I was trying to use maybe like a standard hand drill bit and then just like drill down and then see if I could mill it out, but it just was not working out. It might be me. I'm not exactly sure. So we decided to pivot. I want to at least see, because this will kind of tell me and see how this does, if it does any better at all. We've learned a few lessons, like we have the feed rate turned down a ton. We're gonna do this short one, and I'm probably gonna try to get you guys down here so you can see. Yeah, we'll see if this does any better. I'm not necessarily holding my breath because we're asking a lot for a $500 machine. But we'll see. I mean, we did make modifications to this one. There definitely seems to be more slop, but maybe a little stiffer. So we'll see how this does. I think the first dive down is still gonna be rough. But let's just see. Let's see how it goes. It might throw chips everywhere. It's gonna be fun. Lots of fun, guys. All right, let's go for it. Well, that was quite an adventure. So let me explain kind of what happened. On this guy, we started getting some really weird chatter. It was what it felt like, and I don't know if this is actually what's happening. What it felt like is that it would be moving and the bit would just deflect and then suddenly eat in, and then deflect and then eat in, and then deflect and eat in. And part of the reason I wanted to try 1/4 inch bits is because I felt like they could be more rigid for trying to cut something like this. Obviously, let me show you what they look like. Maybe that'll help. So here's the first one. When we faced this off, that actually went decently. It's not the best finish, but it's okay. Engraving, we immediately broke the bit, and I really think I need a different bit for this to actually work. And then drilling down the hole in the middle, which maybe I should tell you what I was trying to do. What I was trying to make is actually a holder for my tweezers, because I use my tweezers quite a bit and I always want to have some sort of holder. I felt like that was a decent thing to make out of aluminum, you know? There's gonna be a hole down the center where I could stick the tweezers, and that's where I kind of messed up. The end mill that I have is not meant for drilling down. It's not a drill bit, it's an end mill. meaning it wants to come in from the side, not drilled down. Yeah, so I kind of screwed the pooch on that guy a little bit. And then when we came over here and set up on V1, wow, that does not look like that in real life. Anyways, when I set up on V1, it cut okay, and then over here it started doing the deflect and chatter. So then I came back, tried slowing it down, and it was still doing it. So I think what happened is I also kind of ruined my nice 1/4 inch flat end mill bit there. So I think this is where I'm calling it on the aluminum. Again, I mean, this is like hardwood, and it did amazing on this. And as far as cutting aluminum, I did 60-61. I tried to figure out what would be best. Maybe I don't have the right aluminum. Maybe I'm a noob, you know, my speed and feeds are wrong, or I'm not using the right bits. I mean, I tried my best, I did my research, you guys know me. Like, you've seen it on the Crosstrek, like I try to do my research and I try to give it the best shot I can, but I'm not an expert. So if you guys have any suggestions on like what I can try to see if these can cut out aluminum, then let me know. But right now, obviously, I've got some learning to do. I'm a little suspect of them. I just think it's asking a lot for these machines. I mean, for $500, yes, it's a pretty penny, but like they do pretty dang good for what you get. So it might be me, but I honestly think it is also just asking a lot from the machine. So maybe if you really knew what you were doing and really had a lot of experience, then you could, I bet you could cut out some aluminum. And I haven't given up hope on engraving aluminum. I did see the webpage for this, and they did have a whole picture about stainless steel engraving, which makes me wonder. I'm not giving up hope on aluminum engraving, but if you guys have any tips, let me know. But let's at least like talk this over for a minute, okay? Because I've pulled together kind of my thoughts, and I want to give it to you. Got my notes. Because there is a lot going on here, and I knew I'd forget something if I didn't kind of at least write down. I probably still have forgotten something. I don't see myself as a review channel. I'm not trying to give you a good review of like, oh, buy this or don't buy this. Like, ultimately it'll come up to you, but I at least have some input here. I will say, between the V1 and the V2 was a very nice like unboxing experience. We didn't have to spend nearly as much time, but we did also kind of jump into the V1 and just start taking it apart and putting like stiffer springs in it and trying to make it better as best we can. And honestly, coming out of the box, I feel like they've done their research, and I understand why they're excited about it, because they really have thought about this thoroughly. Like, all of the upgrades on this, it is good upgrades, and it's done very thoughtfully. So yeah, more pre-assembled, sure, that's great. Less stuff I have to put together. It still is a bit of a pain to make sure everything's square, at least as close as I can, but you'll probably get diminishing returns. For what this can do, you're probably fine just slapping it together, and the unboxing process is easy for that. I will say, one of the nicest upgrades between the V1 and the V2 is that the wire management, like, they actually took a lot of time and put in solutions to wire manage this. I mean, on this guy, I had to wire manage the entire thing. It was practically like building a desktop PC, but this guy, it was like 2 wires, a little bit of fun. It's like, along with that, like this cable track on top, super nice upgrade. Having the power supply on the back, yeah, that's pretty nice. That's really nice. The Z, all the limit switches, oh, that's also like, that's really nice. Having them light up, I mean, those are all really good improvements. I will say this limit switch, probably the back one too, the limit switches are a little exposed, but that's just kind of inherent in the design and the price point. But like you saw, I accidentally hit that limit switch, so you just gotta be kind of careful there. I will say, I'm still on the fence what knobs I like better that they put on there. I might like these ones, but these ones are smaller, more refined. I will say the offline controller, like, huge upgrade. I mean, you guys saw this. Like, this is really hard to kind of figure out what's going on, and this is pretty easy. And a way bigger screen. Yeah, offline controller, that's also a big thumbs up. I will say, I mean, you can see here, you look at the height difference a little bit. On the V2, yeah, there is a slightly bigger working area. Does it matter that much? I mean, it's nice. It's like, I think it's like a few millimeter. I think it's like, goes from like 75 to 78 on the Z. And then I think it's like, this is like 300 by 200. That's why it's like the 30-20. I think it's like 205 rather than 200. So yeah, 5 millimeters. We'll take it. You know, like, not going to complain to have more working area. I don't think it's really like a huge deciding factor. I will say on the spindle mount, the reason that they have this split up, and they didn't tell me this, I did see it later on, you can actually remove this and get like other pieces. So if you want to take like a full-on router and stick it in here, then you can buy the adapter and pretty quickly swap it out. This guy, it's really hard because it's integrated into the Z-axis. So that's a nice upgrade, and that is tempting. We'll see if that happens. Oh, I will say the controller, yeah, it's 32-bit. I already talked about that. It is nicer. The thing I really like is this Z-probe. This Z-probe is a lot thinner, and it's nicer. It's just way nicer. This one, I mean, I know Z-probe's pretty dang basic, but this one feels a lot worse when I see that one. So definitely like the Z-probe. They added a port for air support on laser engraving, which, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I have some plans there. We'll have more videos. I've got boxes and other boxes, like, that could be useful. So, yeah, that's also another big positive. A couple of the negatives, and that's just inherent, and this is inherent in the design a bit. The emergency switch, it's still, I could see it getting in the way of like mounting up something and then you'll snap off your emergency switch when you throw it backwards. But, you know, like they have been a little smart, so the limit switches are up above this bar, so you're probably not gonna hit the limit switches and break them. Also, Genmitsu, if you do watch this, the clamping system. I know you like your clamping system, but here, and I even ran into this before, like these wire nuts, having these wire nuts stick up, that takes a lot of clearance. So you need to clearance that a ton. So yeah, this is kind of easy. You don't need a tool, but I feel like my solution, and this isn't to toot my own horn, but I feel like my solution is actually pretty dang good and cheap to implement. You just get button head cap screws, like hex button heads, low profile, and then you get them in all these sizes, and that gives you a lot of adjustability. You just vary the sizes of the screws as you go up and down. And with the button caps or the button heads, the low profile ones, you know, you're talking really minimal clearance, and so you can fit it into places. You don't have to worry about running into it with your end mill or anything. Like, it's a lot cleaner of a solution, you know. And you're already giving them an organizer like that, and so I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to kind of flesh out the hardware a bit. Get rid of the wing nuts, give them another Allen wrench, and just give them an assortment of these. So do away with hex head or Phillips, any of that, and like you don't need a countersunk head on these. Like, just do a button head. I will say, just thread all. Yeah, that's nice. But again, I really think the better solution is decent if you move to these cap heads, these hex heads, low profile, and a wider variety. Like that really is the way to go. So if any of you guys do pick this up, I would suggest like going and watching my other video, because I just go raid the hardware store and get a better clamping setup. I will say they give you a decent bit of stuff, extra limit switches and whatnot, which is awesome. Yeah. I will say the dust boot for this, that's really a necessary upgrade. And then getting like different ER11 collet sets is also really great. I wish I had the tools to check my collets, because I mean, this old Tony had a whole video about how collets were like, if they're eccentric, if they weren't centered, then they were causing a bunch of issues, especially with tinier drill bits. And so all of my collets are from Genmitsu. I'd like to say I trust them, but I'd also love to verify. So I think the bottom line, I'm pretty sure this is the same price as the version 1, and they're selling the version 1 at a little bit of a discount right now, probably just to get them out the door, because they're going to discontinue it, I bet. So, I mean, in that sense, it's a no-brainer. Like, if you're V1, if you're choosing between V1, V2, no-brainer. If you're looking at buying one outright, it's a little expensive, and as of right now, unless you really know what you're doing, I wouldn't say expect to just jump in and start to be able to do metals. I will say wood, even hardwood, yeah, you can get some pretty nice results. So these, I think, plastics, woods, and that kind of material, yes. Not giving up hope on engraving aluminum, but that'll probably have to be a later video. I guess I just gotta say, I am impressed. Maybe watch out for the flash drive. maybe watch out for the collets a little bit and the clamping solution, breaking your emergency switch, and some of those smaller things. But in all, like this is pretty well done. I like it. Even the labeling, like up here, they put the label on the front, so you can pretty easily see some of the labeling on there. And then the spindle was also labeled. I mean, that's all good stuff. I think it's very appropriate to label this as V2. Still fits that what they're looking for. I think it fits really well in the price point that they're trying to shoot for. 300 millimeters, 200 millimeters by 78 millimeters of working area. I mean, it's pretty good, and it's a pretty good size. I bought these with the intention of doing metal engraving, and I played with some of my friends' lasers to do some metal engraving, and it didn't work out, so I got this to do metal engraving. Really, that's kind of where my mindset is. If I can successfully engrave aluminum, maybe some other metals, then I am completely happy with my purchase. If it can't engrave aluminum or other metals, then the price point is a little high, but at least you wouldn't have to worry about cutting woods and other things. So I still think it would be great for that. I probably just would have waited later, but right now I really want to engrave some metal. So yeah, one last look here. I mean, that is pretty dang well, and I think if I tuned it up a little bit, like slowed down this, then I wouldn't get the chatter on it. And this is so useful in a lot of ways, and especially if you start doing like epoxy pours in these and different things like that. And you can use wood for different holding fixtures like really well. Yeah, aluminum would be kind of nice to do, but there is a lot of value in having this much precision and this much strength to be able to do hardwoods and plastics and polymers and stuff. If you guys do want to venture down the same path as me and get a desktop CNC from Genmitsu or of their other products, I think they did give me a discount code that gives me a kickback. I don't really care about getting the kickback or anything. It's more so if you do, there's a 10% discount code, but you know, no obligation. And you can see some of the issues I've had with them. Unfortunately, guys, that's where we're gonna have to cut off this project today. I'm really happy with seeing how this has performed, but I hope you guys subscribe because I've got some more fun projects to kind of happen out of these, and hopefully we'll get some better capabilities out of these. I hope to see you guys on the next one, and I hope you have a great day, a great night, great morning, whatever time it is. Really happy you guys came to see this, and I'm really interested to see what your guys' thoughts are. Tell me where I'm being an idiot. I'd love to hear it, and we'll see you on the next project. So bye.